But,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's just hold on to our horses for a little bit, because I remember, now that we were talking about it, I remember Team Lee's. It started off on the opening day in the first 2 hours in the red.
Yeah.
And then
And
it stopped.
congratulations
Okay, let's go
for a
across.
very great listing. Firstly, in terms of the listing itself, how do you feel right now? A superb listing that you're getting in here, and a long walk that you, as well as the Ujjivan family, has taken. How do you feel here?
Well, we are overwhelmed with the response. We never expected this kind of a response from the market. And now we have to live up to the expectation. But this is, as I said, it's a marathon. It's not a short 100 meters dash, because we are actually transforming to a bank, which takes a lot of time. And we hope our investors will stay with us through this journey, and I'm sure it will be very beneficial for all concerned.
I'm sure your investors would definitely be staying with you. And so now, what are the further plans? How do you see yourself differentiating now? Because you're primarily a microfinance player. How do you see yourself differentiating in terms of within the entire space of small finance bank? What would be your key strategy going ahead?
So first of all, we already started our work in terms of transforming to a bank, because we have a lot of work, especially on the IT side, our infrastructure, people. So we are ready to launch by first quarter of 2017, the Small Finance Bank. And as you know, the mandate given by RBI is this is a specialized institution which serves only to serve the unserved and underserved. And this is something that has eluded our banking system for so many decades. So this is going to be a special institution which we are trying to develop with the help of technology and people and the kind of base we have already built with 3 million customers. And our focus will be in that area itself, for financial inclusion.
What about your capital? You have raised good amount of capital now. How would you be using this capital? How would you be deploying this capital? And also, your foreign shareholding is slightly over 90% as of now. So where do you see your foreign shareholding going down now post the listing?
Okay, our foreign shareholding was about 90%, but it's after the pre-IPO it was down to 77%. And post-IPO, it's down to about 44.86. And as you know, for the bank license requirement, we had to be below 49. So we are at 44.86. And as far as our capital is concerned, 50% actually was secondary. So because a lot of our foreign investors have partially sold out, some of them fully sold out, to reduce our foreign shareholding. But the other balance, 50% of our equity raise, will go towards the investments we have to make into the bank, in terms of technology, in infrastructure, and, and we would not require additional capital from the market, at least for 3-4 years, for our business growth,
Okay.
So
that's great. You do now that you're sufficient in terms of capital, at least for the next at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
What plans now? Primarily now you're in MFIs and you're pretty much well diversified across northwest, east, as well as the south region. Any plans to shift only from an MFI segment? What would be your product categories that you would be focusing on? How would you be further expanding your branch presence beyond the current presence that you have in the majority of the states?
Okay, last question first. In terms of branching, we are the most diversified among all the microfinance institutions in terms of geography. We are across 24 states and union territories. So we don't expect to increase our geographical reach to that extent. But what we would be increasing is 25% of our branches are required to be in unbanked rural areas. So we would be opening a lot of branches in unbanked rural areas to meet the RBI requirement for 25% unbanked rural. So that will be where our main new branch growth will come across. And, traditionally this has always been seen as in banks as a cost of doing business. We see this as an opportunity, because there's so many people. When we surveyed the people in these areas which are unbanked, who are desperate for banking, across all segments, whether they're rich, poor, or this thing. So I think there's a big opportunity there, and I think that we have to sort of capitalize on that opportunity.
Will you be diversifying your products? I mean to say would you be entering into home finance or a gold finance or a vehicle finance or something like that? Or would it be purely MFIs?
See, 88% of our business is on group lending. We started what we call individual lending, which is micro SME finance, about 4 years ago. That is the area we want to grow, and that is where the government also is very keen that we support micro entrepreneurs and small entrepreneurs, in terms of, and that's where we see the maximum growth. We also have a housing finance we started about a year ago. And I think that also is a big need in this segment. So housing is also going to be a major growth area for us. But the biggest, I think, change which will come is on the deposit side, because there's been microfinance institutions and all kinds of other institutions which have provided loans to this segment over the years. But to provide them a safe place to save, where they are treated well, and they are treated without hassles, without, so that to provide them access to a safe savings environment, that is, I think, going to be the biggest change which will come across for us as a small finance bank.
Right, so that brings me on to the next question, sir, because you would primarily be, of course, be building a strong deposit franchisee. And in the experience that we have seen across the private sector banking space, the two new banks, we have seen that it is quite a challenging task to build on the CASA. And for you being into the unbanked areas that you think that you plan to go ahead with, how do you see your deposit franchisee shaping up, as well as what is the kind of impact you see in terms of your financials? Because you would also be, because of the transformation into a small finance bank, there will also be some impact in terms of your ROAs and ROEs. So give us some color on that.
So actually, in terms of the nature of customers we have, as far as CASA is concerned, I don't think we will see it too much in the current account, because the current account balances largely come from cash management, and we are not in that business. But we will see significant amount of volume on the savings account. So that is an area where we will see in terms of CASA, we'll see a significant amount there. And your second question was
in terms of the financial ratios.
Yeah. Obviously, in the first couple of years, when we will be investing a lot, in technology, in people, infrastructure, our operating costs are going to go up temporarily. However, our interest costs, because we borrow largely on term borrowing from banks, which is around 12%. Whereas interbank rates are much lower, etc. And as we build our retail deposit base, our interest costs are going to be dropping, So initially for a couple of years, but that takes time, to build a deposit base. So for initial couple of years, I think you will see a slight shrinkage in terms of our, the margins and things like that. But after 2 years, the transition period, I think we'll go back to the normal. But
okay, that's Ujjivan, and now look at the stock price. It's at 238, so it's actually done the reverse. It started off slightly on a slightly somber note, but now moving up. And I don't know. As I said, it ties in with the thought that we had. One of the thoughts that we had was probably that for a long-term investor, because it's not been a crazy jump on listing, it probably gave some people a chance to enter, because as we said, on valuation parameters, on return ratios, it's much better than the other two listed peers, so all three current MFIs right now. So good going for Ujjivan. The start now, it doesn't look like a bad start at all. So,
you're still below the break-even point. Darshan has sent me an mail which says that the break-even point for HNI investors would be way above what the current price is.
True.
So there are two aspects to look at it. If you bought for the IPO pop, bad news from Thyrocare, bad news from Ujjivan. If you're a genuine guy who bought it for the
Thyrocare was okay, but
you didn't make a lot of money if you bought it for the pop. I'm saying that I'm addressing that category of not even investor, for that category of trader who bought with the assumption that the risk is zero and upside is going to be 10-15%. This IPO pop-up game, I think, is a very well understood game, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, we have a very special fundamental voice, S. Nagnath, President and CIO of DSP BlackRock Investment, joins us right now.